I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd ask everyone to remain standing for just a moment of silence. This is in memory of Denise Rudnicki. Denise was the secretary for Mitch Little, our chief of police, and she passed away last week. And I just ask you to keep Denise's family in your thoughts and prayers, and all the men and women of our Toms River PD. Thank you. This meeting is convened in accordance with provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act of New Jersey. Let the official minutes reflect that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by publishing a notice in the Asbury Park Press on Wednesday, January 8th, 2020, the Press of Atlantic City, and the Star Ledger, and also forwarded to the Toms River Times, Toms River Patch, and WOBM News on Monday, January 6th, 2020, and thereafter posting same on the Town Hall Bulletin Board for such notices, and filing same with the Township Clerk, pursuant to a resolution adopted by the Toms River Township Council on Friday, January 3rd, 2020. This meeting dates have also been posted on the Township webpage. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Yurick.
Councilwoman Yurick is out of town on a family matter, and she asked for an excused absence.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Councilman Kopp.
Here.
Councilman Latano.
Here.
Councilman Roderick.
Here.
Councilman Turnbach.
Here.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Here.
Council President Maruka.
Present.
First item, the minutes of July 28th, 2020.
Make a motion to move the minutes.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Turnbach, seconded by Councilman Kopp. Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Latano.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes.
Council President, I just received a text message from somebody in the public. They say that the audio is dead for our meeting, for our township meeting.
Can someone from our IT department please check on that? Mayor, do you know if we have a staff member working in their office tonight that could also check for us? She's checking now? Okay, great, thank you.
Whatever it was, maybe it was just a glitch. The person just emailed back that now they have audio. So
Okay.
maybe it was an internet issue, I don't know.
It seems to be working? Okay, great. Allison, would you proceed with the agenda, please?
Yes, Council President. Next on the agenda, we do not have any honoring resolutions or presentations, so we'll move on to item number 7, is an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Toms River, Ocean County, New Jersey, replacing Section 8.4, buffer areas, screening, landscaping, and shade trees, and replacing it with a new Section 8.4, landscape and buffer standards, of Chapter 348, Land Use and Development Regulations of the Township Code. This is a final reading.
This is a public hearing and the second reading of this ordinance. Anyone wishing to speak on this ordinance, please raise your hand. Once called upon, come to the mic and state your name and address for the record.
Seeing none, I move to close the public comment portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Council's pleasure.
Move the ordinance on file. Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Kopp, seconded by Councilman Latano. Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Latano,
Yes.
Councilman Roderick,
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach,
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan,
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes.
Item 8 is an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Toms River, Ocean County, New Jersey, amending and supplementing Section 368-3 Nuisance Acts of Chapter 368 Nuisances of the Township Code to add a new Section 368-3.1 Light Trespass in Residential Areas. This is a first reading.
Move the ordinance on first reading?
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Turnbach, second by Councilman Kopp. Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Latano.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes. Next is our consent agenda. All matters listed under item consent agenda will be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. Therefore, there will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired on any item, the item might be considered separately, and I know Councilman
like to
Latano
discuss
had,
H.
yeah,
I'd like to
Councilman,
discuss H.
and Councilman Latano had also asked to discuss H.
Thank you, Council President Maruka. Once again, I had this item pulled off the consent agenda for further discussion. 1870 Hines Road was part of a group of properties designated for auction from a council meeting from July 23rd, 2019. This particular parcel is 1.22 acres and zoned highway business. The auction was conducted on June 24th, 2020. There was a bidding war, and the bids went back and forth. The price eventually reached $318,000. When it became time to leave the deposit, the winning bidder could have what could be described as bidder's remorse. The party claimed that they had got caught up in the excitement of bidding and paying more than they wanted to. Somehow the bidder renegotiated the deal with the auction company and reduced the price to $247,500, a nearly $70,000 reduction to Toms River. Because of this renegotiation, I don't feel like selling this parcel is in our town's best interest at this time. I also would urge my fellow council members to vote with me on this. I would like to move a motion to deny Resolution H.
I second that.
Okay.
Before we move, I have some
Do you have
questions,
some- you
some
have
public
some-
questions. Yes, I do.
Okay.
I have some questions, because there are some real peculiarities here. First question would be for Councilman Latano. Councilman, have you ever had business dealings with Max Span before, sir?
I had.
You have. Okay, so you're going to have to abstain from anything on this, first of all,
Actually,
correct?
I've never actually had a business dealing. I bid on an auction, never closed, never
How many
purchased.
would you say you've done?
One.
Just one. Okay, so then I have a few other questions, if that's
Go ahead.
okay. The first question is, who did the legal work on this? That's my first question.
Mr. Fitzsimmons, was that?
So who
legal?
reviewed the contracts and who drafted
Okay.
all three resolutions? Because we have three resolutions on this
Okay,
with
Mr.
different prices.
Councilman Roderick, he's going,
Okay.
Mr. Fitzsimmons will answer your question.
Well, the resolutions were drafted by the Department of Law.
Who in specific, sir? And under whose direction?
I believe Anthony Merlino drafted the resolutions, but I certainly reviewed them and approved them to form.
Okay, well, I have first, okay, so we know now
Okay, so-
who drafted them. My next question was.
So they were drafted by Mr. Molino, Mr.
At whose
Fitzsimmons,
at whose direction?
and then they were
At
approved
whose-
by
at whose direction,
Mr.
though?
Fitzsimmons,
At whose direction?
by the law department.
So it wasn't the mayor that decided to sell this piece of property?
No, we voted on this last year.
Mayor doesn't.
No, there was no resolution authorizing the sale. Last year, I double-checked. I know we all got an email from some attorney who had some questions, and I went back and I looked at that resolution. All that resolution did was authorize Max Span to be able to sell
Right, to
properties
go-
for us, but it did not list this property. So that's my second question. Was there a resolution for this sale that specified that this property was going to be sold? Because I found nothing that referenced this property.
Well, you didn't examine the resolution that carefully if you're talking about the July 2019 resolution, because that had a 4-page schedule attached to it.
I have it here. You want to show me? Because I didn't see the property listed there. In fact, the only resolution that we have listing 2 properties for sale is recently, I believe it was this March, and it's 2 lots, one of which sold for $16,000, although it was worth $94,000. And again, that was max span. This one, we haven't sold some of the other ones, but there was another lot, but it wasn't this. So if you want to go through there, you'll see there was nothing authorizing the sale that I could find.
Could I answer your question?
Absolutely, yes.
You don't have the full resolution. If you had the full resolution, you'd see a 4-page addendum attached to it that was prepared by our former Chief Financial Officer, Sharon Smith.
Well,
And
sorry. Sometimes you pause and it's difficult. Go ahead.
I won't respond, but the property on Hines Road is listed by lot and block, and I believe it's on page 2.
Well, I didn't find a resolution, and I will show that to you.
Maybe you didn't read it carefully.
No, I
It's
read
there.
it very carefully, and then there are some other questions, though. Was this the sole bidder? Was Hines, 1810 Hines LLC, the sole bidder?
Well, I was not at the auction, but the auctioneer reported that there were 2 bidders. Well, excuse me, there were multiple bidders up to about $230,000 or $40,000, and then there were 2 bidders that essentially bid in $5,000 increments, I believe, from that point to the $317,000, I believe it was.
Yeah, I have it right here, but all 3 resolutions that were drafted by Mr. Merlino at the direction, obviously, of the administration, they all list, excuse me, you're interrupting me now. They all list Hines LLC as the sole bidder. All 3 resolutions say that Hines LLC was the sole bidder.
The
And
bidding
until,
site said there was
and
57
I
bids.
called them on the phone 2 weeks ago before the meeting, and all of this information, which I screenshot, has been removed
Councilman, you
from the website.
make a lot of statements.
Well, this isn't, I wasn't asking you a
but-
question.
Does it-
Now you're
You ought to
interrupting
have
me. Can I
some-
ask my next question?
No.
Councilman Roderick, can you please
Because
give
you asked a
Mr.
question, I'm going to answer.
Fitzsimmons-
I'm not
Sure,
going to
go
be
ahead.
interrupted again.
Go ahead. I don't know, I thought you finished answering the question, but go ahead. Which question are you
Well,
answering now?
you tend to ask shotgun questions, and then you don't want to hear the answer, because the answer is not going to help you, perhaps. If you want the accurate answer, ask the question, and I'll answer it.
Okay,
If you
so
don't
which
want an
question are you
answer,
answering, sir? If not, I have another question.
Please let him answer
you're
the question.
stating that the resolution was prepared by the Department of Law at the behest of the mayor. That is not correct. The mayor doesn't have a vote in this matter. He doesn't decide whether the property is purchased, and he doesn't direct he generally doesn't direct the preparation of resolutions. That is a council function.
So
as you
Maria
should know.
Maruca just decided that, so it was Maria then? Maria, you decided to put this piece of property up? It was your decision to send it to the auction house? Whose decision was it to put it up for auction?
It was
Because the auction closed June the 24th, and Hines Road LLC, which I have their business certificate from the state of New Jersey, Hines Road LLC, wasn't formed until 2 days after that. Now, I know you said Mr. Merlino handled the legal work. I have 2 contracts with 2 different prices, all dated June 24th, and this LLC wasn't formed until the 26th.
Okay.
Sir. Well, no, I am not finished, Maria.
Well,
And
when you
so I
wanted to answer the
decided
question-
that I would go down to the post office and Oprah, who actually owns this LLC, to find out who signed for this P.O. box that has for this LLC that has no registered agent, which I believe is okay in Delaware, but not okay in the state of New Jersey. So I went down there, and it turns out that this is a political insider that has this box. Interesting. His name is Chaim Sable. He's on the Lakewood Planning Board. And he just so happened to get a reduction of $100,000. So you guys put up 2 resolutions, one for $350,000, and then 2 weeks later you cut the price to $250,000.
No, excuse me.
Your resolution says you have.
Mr. Roderick,
Your resolution says that he was the sole bidder, and he was not the sole bidder. He's a political insider who was getting a $900,000 piece of property for $250,000.
$900,000.
And as the news broke the story,
Mr.
now we get a
Councilman
letter
Roderick.
from the mayor Now we get a letter from the mayor urging us not to vote for something that you guys put up for sale.
Excuse me, I
Excuse me.
pulled it off the consent agenda last time, so I don't know
Right.
what
And
you're
they
talking
did.
about. What your news broke the story. I pulled it off last
I
time.
didn't say my news broke the story.
Right.
You should listen more clearly.
Yeah, you should stop
It-
talking so
this
much.
is right here, and I
Councilman Roderick.
forwarded all the material.
I have a
all the
question.
material.
When you're done, I have a question.
Okay, well,
Mr. Fitzsimmons, on the meeting of July 23rd, 2019, the property in question was on the resolution?
Yes.
And did Councilman Roderick vote yes for it, to go to auction?
I'd have to look at that
The
resolution.
answer is yes. Everybody did, with the exception of one
the
person who was
property is not in
absent.
the resolution, and whether or not you gave a $900,000 piece of property to a political insider is irrelevant.
Are you a
Councilman
are you a
Roderick,
property
these are
appraiser?
accusations.
No, this is not an accusation.
No,
You
no, no.
documented.
No,
Are you a
no,
licensed
no, Councilman
appraiser?
Roderick.
This is
Councilman Roderick.
LLC. This is who owns the LLC. This is who signed for the P.O. Box. I would like to know, is there anybody up here who's made phone calls or had contact with Mr. Chaim Sable from the Lakewood Planning Board? Anybody in the administration? Any of the attorneys? Maybe you don't want to answer that right now. Maybe you don't.
Absolutely answer that. No, I have not. And then Councilman Roderick.
Right.
Councilman Roderick,
Okay.
would you let me speak?
I'm listening.
This had gone out to bid, and when the bids came back, the bidder did not come up with the appropriate money on that. So then we had to rebid that. And once it was rebid, Councilman Latano and yourself had pulled it off last time, so we could discuss.
Nothing was rebid,
and-
Maria. Nothing was rebid. Mr. Fitzsimmons just said the auction house reduced the property price by $100,000, and I find it very odd that it's a political insider from a neighboring community who's getting this property for $700,000.
They're
less
not
than
getting
He's not
it.
getting
It
the
was-
property.
No, not any longer, but that's what was going
Because
to
I
happen.
pulled it.
Council-
Yeah,
Matt,
exactly. Thank you.
Matt, you're saying you want to pull it.
Councilman
This
Roderick,
debate-
it
This
sounds
debate
like you-
between you and I as to who pulled it
Gentlemen.
is irrelevant to the
Okay.
fact that
But it
it was going
sounds
forward.
like you
Do
don't
you
want
know
it
this
to
person,
pass.
sir?
Counsel.
I don't want it to pass.
Do you know this
Let's
person,
just
sir?
vote No.
Counsel.
Okay, so then what are you being so defensive about?
Because this is like the Dan
Everyone knows that you pulled it and that I asked to pull it. That's
Right.
irrelevant.
But
This is
you're
a political
arguing for the
insider.
same thing
You
I
have
am.
3 resolutions that say he's the sole bidder. He's not the sole bidder.
Councilman
And Max
Roderick.
Spann-
This is
Max
political
Spann-
theater.
Councilman
Max
Roderick.
Spann-
Wanna not
Max
pass it.
Spann removed this from their website before the meeting. All of this was removed and is currently removed after my phone call.
Councilman
So
Roderick.
I make a phone call, this gets removed, you guys table a motion, and it just so happens to be going to a political insider from Lakewood on the planning board, sir. That I find to be, to me, this is either one of two things. Either it's extreme incompetence, okay, or it's criminal. I'm going to let the public decide.
Great. So we're
And
both on the same
And the
page.
authorities, and the authorities.
We're both on the same page. We want to vote to deny Resolution H, correct?
If you didn't want to vote on it, it wouldn't be on the agenda tonight. You could have pulled this from the agenda last week and never put it back up again. So when you talk about political theater, sir, the political theater is you, the political theater is Mayor Hill, it's Council President Maria Maruca.
That's a joke.
If
No,
you
no,
did
that's
not
a-
want this on the
That is a
agenda,
joke.
it wouldn't be on the agenda.
Councilman
I don't
Roderick.
control the agenda.
Council President.
You control the agenda. The majority controls the agenda.
And you know what, Councilman
It
Roderick?
wouldn't be
you were
there.
supposed to
So
be
you're
the
accusing
last-
me of political theater. You're the people that are engaging in
Council
political
President.
theater, and you're engaging in potentially criminal activity.
I would like to
Councilman
make a
Roderick.
motion to deny Resolution H from the consent agenda.
And we have a motion and a second on the floor. And Councilman Roderick, you were invited to the last agenda meeting.
And there
the
was
past
no
few months-
resolution approving the sale.
you
I
have
want to be
not
very
even
clear about that, and
done
I'm going to show that to the press. No resolution ever approved this sale, and I'm going to show it to the press.
There is a motion to remove item H from the agenda.
No, there is a motion,
To deny.
correct.
Made by Councilman Latano, seconded by Council President Maruka.
No, it wasn't. It was seconded by Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp. Councilman Latano.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
We're voting to take it off, right?
We are voting to deny it.
Yeah, obviously. Yes, I vote to deny it.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes. Is there anyone from the public or the council that has another agenda item they'd like to speak on? Council, what's your pleasure with the rest of the consent agenda?
Move the rest of the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion was made by Council Vice President Gagan, seconded by Councilman Latano, was it? Kopp. Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Latano.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes.
We do not have any reports tonight, so we will move on to the bill list.
Move the bill list.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Turnbach, seconded by Councilman Kopp. Councilman Turnbach.
Abstain from PO 20-03962, payable to magistrates, and PO 20-00485, payable to Office of Siddle, Holz, Apfel, and Zabarski. I'm a local attorney in town. I have conflicts with both of those. Yes to the balance.
Councilman Kopp.
I abstain from the following: 20-03926, payable to Borough of Island Heights; 20-03659; 20-03658; 20-03661; 20-03662, payable to Owen and Little Associates; and 20-03925, payable to Borough of South Toms River. Yes to the balance.
Councilman Latano.
I have no conflicts. I vote yes.
Councilman Roderick.
I'll be voting no to all bills payable to the law firm of Dasty, Murphy, and McGuckin, and to all bills paid to Gregory P. McGuckin.
There are no bills
There are no
tonight
bills.
because I have a conflict with them, and I would have
Okay.
placed them on the record, so.
Thanks.
You went through the bill list. huh?
So, do you,
Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Abstain to PO 20-03962, payable to NJMVC lease program. I have a conflict. Yes to the balance.
Next, we have elected officials' comments.
Mayor Hill.
Tuesday's storm, Isis, initially left 42,000 of the 49,000 JCP&L residents in Toms River without power. Most of the power was restored over the next 24 to 48 hours, and in some cases longer. After the storm moved north, the sustained winds were over 35 miles an hour, which prevented the bucket trucks from using the aerial ladders until the winds died down around 6 p.m. We were in constant contact with our JCP&L representative and reported outages as the power came back on, directing them to areas around town that needed attention. In addition, we had daily phone conferences with JCP&L leaders. Our initial concerns in the first 24 to 48 hours were for our senior communities and those on medical devices that needed power. The backup batteries have limited power source, so our first aid squads and EMS were supplying O2 bottles to those patients who are on oxygen generators until the power was restored. I can't thank them enough for their support in the power outage. We were near to considering an emergency situation where we were going to go out to town for the senior communities to provide both food, water, and where we could, medical supplies. We've requested an after-action meeting with JCP&L to address their response, but also to update their medical critical care list so we can identify and prioritize those residents for the restoration of power in future events. And I want to thank the council tonight for their action rejecting the bid on the Hines Road property, 1870, block 395.25, lot 42.08. The original bidder defaulted, and I think we all felt that the renegotiation process was flawed. Properties in the highway business zone, and the township will retain that property for the immediate future to determine what's in the best interest of the township for going forward. That's all I have, Council President.
Thank you, Mayor Hill. Councilman Kopp.
I have no comments tonight, Council President. Thank you.
Councilman Latano.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to remind everybody to support the local businesses and especially the local restaurants. It's been very hot. I know it's tough to sit out in a parking lot when it's 100 degrees outside, but the weather is going to break on Friday. It's going to come down to the 70s, and hopefully there's no rain. Again, just to remind everybody that dining downtown Toms River, where they closed the street down, it's so much fun. You have the distillery there, and as of Friday, the much-awaited Battle River Brewing Company will be open. Next to Capone's, there's a courtyard, that's theirs, and they'll be open for business. So that's exciting news, and, you know, support all the local businesses. Thank you very much. That's all I have this week.
Thank you, Councilman Licciardo. Councilman Roderick.
Well, here we have it. As far as this LLC is concerned, I don't see how we wound up with another resolution going from $350,000 down to $250,000 without speaking to that other bidder. Okay, so there was another bidder. That bidder is not mentioned in any of the resolutions. We have multiple contracts with the same date with different prices, signed by an entity that was not in existence during those dates. I believe that's called fraud. You know, we have all of these situations. Then we find out that the actual LLC is owned by a political insider. And Mr. Kopp is smiling right now at me and laughing because he thinks this is funny. But I don't think fraud is funny, Mr. Kopp. I think fraud is fraud, and it's a criminal offense. So, you know, if you want to smile, you can smile all you like, but I don't really smile about fraud. So when you see a $900,000 piece of commercial property being sold under those suspicious circumstances, I think we have some serious problems here. Okay, so we either have some extreme incompetence or criminal fraud. Again, I'll let the public decide, but I will be forwarding all of this material on to the Department of Criminal Justice. So that's all I have for this evening.
Councilman Geoghegan.
Originally, I was going to say I have no comments, but, you know, I feel we're all being attacked, Councilman Roderick, and as I've said in the past, if there's any criminal ongoing, by all means, I'll drive you to the prosecutor's office. Please let me know what your findings are of this criminal investigation. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councilman Geoghegan. Councilman Turnbuck.
On a more positive and respectful note, our food distribution here in Toms River is going very strong. It's this Friday again at 1070 Hooper Avenue, the Presbyterian Church. I want to thank Pastor Robbie Yitterberg for allowing us to use that site. It runs every Friday from 11 to 12:30, and the need obviously is only growing. I'm going to encourage our Ocean County municipalities to promote the local food banks. When we started the food distribution, all the food pantries were closed in the area due to the COVID-19 coronavirus, and understandably so. They didn't want people coming in. We have worked very hard with our volunteers to not limit our food distribution to just Toms River residents. And when I say very hard, last week we delivered to Little Egg Harbor, we delivered to Waretown, we delivered to Berkeley Township, we delivered to Brick Township, we delivered to Lakewood, and we delivered to Jackson. And we delivered in the Friday evening, and we delivered on Saturdays to make sure that Ocean County residents are being fed. But the reality is the food pantries are reopened, and I'm just going to ask our local municipal leaders in those townships to promote those food pantries, because people are waiting to Friday to get food from us when they can be going Monday through Friday to their local municipality. I want to make an announcement that Just Believe, which is our corporation or nonprofit that runs our Code Blue, is going to have an opening tomorrow of the Just Believe Boutique. It's a community thrift store. With profits from that will be provided to the poor and the homeless here in Toms River. It's located at 734 Route 37 in Toms River, so please go out and support Just Believe Boutique, the community thrift store. On September 15th, 2020, Just Believe, Inc. is going to be running a Code Blue planning meeting at the Riverwood Park Recreation. Obviously, Code Blue runs from November through March, so we're looking for any volunteers that have interest to come out September 15th, 2020, 6 p.m., Riverwood Park. That's all I have, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Turnbuck. Mr. Fitzsimmons, in regard to the resolution to deny and also the resolution for the sale of the property, the law department oversaw that. Was there any fraud indicated in your findings of overseeing this process?
The resolution,
The resolutions for, that we
I
put,
think she's talking about the contracts. That's what I was
Could
speaking
I,
about.
could I understand the question without you interrupting? I didn't even say anything, and you're continuing your pattern.
Yes, my pattern.
the resolutions for the sale of the properties, they were prepared by your office in your normal fashion that you would do for sale of properties. I believe there was like 7 or 8 properties within that auction.
Yes, the, the history of the contract, when Max Spawn was retained by the council resolution adopted back in July of 2019, one of their duties was to auction the property and prepare a contract. They prepared a form blank contract, no names, no amounts, and submitted it to the Department of Law. I personally had reviewed that, and I made several minor suggestions for changes needed in the contract that ultimately would be used if and when bidders attended the auction and bid on the property. After the bidding closed, Max Spawn prepared contracts for the 2 properties that were bid upon where the deposits were tendered within the time provided under the rules of the auction. They were submitted to the chief financial officer, who gave them to me. I reviewed them, found them to be in proper order, and initiated the resolution preparation mechanism. The resolution for the Hines Road property was not, there was no contract submitted because that bidder failed to produce the 10% deposit. So we did not prepare a contract for that particular property. Ultimately, the auctioneer spoke to that bidder and basically wanted to find out from the high bidder and the next second highest bidder, why they didn't go through with the sale. The high bidder said he got caught up in the auction and he didn't think the property was worth that, and he wasn't going to put up the deposit. He was then asked, would you buy the property at any price, just to get an idea of what the background of the auction was, why that bidder bid and then defaulted. He indicated that he would buy the property at, I believe, $247,000. The second highest bidder said he lost interest in the property after the 317 bid was made, and he wouldn't come back unless there were full approvals for the parcel, and he had conditions which were not part of the sale. At that point, council had to take some action. It had to approve or reject the bid. Just couldn't let it stay there. So a resolution was prepared. The matter was discussed in executive session. It didn't appear anyone in executive session was in favor of awarding a contract for the lower price, which was, for argument's sake, about $70,000 less. The resolution was offered, and it was anticipated it would be denied. And it, in fact, was denied this evening.
Why did you prepare a resolution that said that they were the sole bidder 3 times? Three resolutions state that this individual is the sole bidder. Why would you do that, and why would Max
Can I see
Spann?
that resolution? You read it?
Yeah, here. You can, there are 2 of them here. Is it an error? Is that it? And then, how come you didn't pick up that the contracted date was prior to the creation of this LLC? Because I certainly picked that up.
Yeah. Are you talking about just the resolution for Hines?
The Hines resolution, all 3 Hines resolutions say that that was the sole bidder.
Well, could
It
I
was
see-
read into the record.
You handed me one resolution, could I?
Oh, well, that's, it's going to come after the contracts with all the dates that are signed before the
Can you
entity
show
was
me where
created.
those are in your packet?
While you're looking for that, Mr. Davidson, can I ask you a question,
Whereas
please?
the only bid
show
received
me? I
was
don't-
from 1810's Heinz, and whereas the township, after due consideration, determined it to be in the public interest to accept the bid of 1810 LLC, the sole conforming bidder. So each of these resolutions say that the township finds it acceptable, and each of these resolutions say that this entity was the sole bidder. It was not the sole bidder. You're now saying something different,
I'd like to see it.
and I showed it to you, but you
No,
asked
you-
me again. You keep saying, "Oh, show it to me."
read
I'll
it
show
to
it to
me.
you, and I just read it to you.
Mr. Rod.
And you like to interrupt
Excuse me,
me.
Miss-
And it's okay
Okay.
for everybody here to interrupt me.
Councilman
but
Roderick.
it's never okay for me to interrupt
don't
anyone else.
stop
Councilman Roderick,
Which
please.
because I don't play ball with you. That's
No,
why
no,
it's not
Councilman
okay.
Roderick,
Yes,
you don't have,
that's exactly what it is.
would you please?
It's okay, I have no further comment. This is going to be left to the authorities to look at.
Councilman Roderick, would
I
you
have no
please
further
give this
comment.
governing
I
body?
have no further comment.
And the
Anyone that wants to in the public can read their resolution and see that they said this guy was the sole bidder and that they said it was acceptable to the town 3 times.
I thought there was no further
They stepped
comment.
down the price, and now that the public knows about it, they're changing what they're saying. But it's
Councilman
all in writing for whoever
All right,
wants
and then
to
you know what, Councilman
and I'll
Roderick?
be giving it over to the press.
Councilman Roderick, at the last agenda.
I have no further comment.
Well, I have a
Oh,
please.
Oh, go ahead.
I have a comment.
Mr. Roderick, go ahead, let's hear.
Councilman Roderick, at the last agenda meeting, you knew this was going to be on, and it was your turn, and you were invited. And if you had so much interest in this, why didn't you even attend or comment about it?
Are you saying?
Or you just
are
wait
saying-
until the council meeting so you can
Are you saying that me
grandstand?
going to the agenda meeting has any relevance as to whether or not the township broke the law? Are you trying to
No,
make
I'm
some sort of
saying-
connection to me going to an agenda meeting and the
Councilman
township
Roderick.
breaking the law? Because there is no correlation there.
Councilman Roderick.
Council President, there is no correlation. Zero correlation. If I made an agenda meeting, which many folks never make an agenda meeting.
No, that's
No,
just you.
no, that's untrue. You're the only one that never makes an agenda meeting.
relevance to whether or not you guys break the law.
No, the
What does my
relevance is-
what does the agenda meeting have to do with the township?
We discussed township business, and this was on the agenda. But Councilman Roderick, you have never attended the last 2 or 3 agenda meetings. You do not put any input
There's
into
a
this council. The only-
rotation, and I've been asked twice in the last 6 months. I've been on the rotation twice, and neither date fit. But that's irrelevant as to this matter.
Yeah, but
Completely irrelevant. You have a big smile as if you've had some great political moment up here. The facts remain. You
No,
gave
sir,
this
you're looking for your
property-
great political
you
moment.
give this property to a member of the Lakewood Planning Board, a political insider, and you step down the price from $350,000 to $250,000 without
Councilman
without
Roderick,
due process.
that is your
No, it's not
interpretation.
an interpretation, it's a fact.
It's your interpretation.
It's a
of-
fact, it's a fact.
And I have a question for
It's a
Mr.
fact.
Davidson. Mr. Davidson, in their dealings with Max Span through the process of parcels that were for the bid, was all the contracts and everything in order?
They were presented to me and I presented it to law.
Well-
I didn't see anything
Okay.
jumping at me.
But I'm just saying.
That was a very good answer, Alex. I wouldn't get roped into anything on this at all.
I'm not trying to rope Alex into
I think we should just close this matter.
I
I
don't-
really do, and I don't think we should be asking professionals right now for their opinions. I think we should close the matter and leave it as it is.
I think
and
it's the
move on.
council
Council-
president's
it's-
comment.
Yeah, it is. I'm in the middle of my council comments, in case you forgot,
Oh, that's right.
Councilman Roderick.
Oh, that's right, it is your comments.
So I'm going to continue. Can you restrain yourself from interrupting me again?
I'll try.
Thank you, Mr. Davidson. We're fine.
Thank you, Councilman.
And Mr. Fitzsimmons, thank you for clarifying
Well, I did,
a couple of the
I
things.
did get interrupted and never.
You did. If you would like to
Did the tail end
finish.
of your
Would you like to
question,
finish?
Did I find anything improper or illegal in the bidding process? No. But as I recommended in executive session, I thought accepting the bid for $40,000 or $47,000 would be questionable, but that the resolution should be offered and should be voted upon to terminate the matter, either to accept the bid or reject it, as council did, and properly so this evening. It was rejected. It's a very simple parliamentary procedure. You have to get the matter off the table and make a decision. Now, you can spin it many, many ways, but that's what actually happened.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzsimmons. And also, just wanted to comment on the great job that our police department, our EMS, our CSOs, and our fire departments did over the course of this storm. I know in those first 4 hours, there was over 300 calls that went through dispatch last week, and I know people were out of power for quite some time. The mayor talked about how many residents did not have power. I know there was quite a few over on the beach. I see a couple of residents here this evening that were out of power for a while. But JCP&L, I know we were in contact with them quite a bit, but I still think Mayor and Mr. Amoruso will be doing a follow-up meeting with them for some of the issues that were not resolved in a timely fashion. Okay. And also this evening, it's our first council meeting, but I'd just like to welcome our new bid executive director, Maren Bellick, who's with us this evening. Thank you for joining us this evening. Not usually as colorful as we are tonight, but your input into the meetings for the downtown is always welcome, and welcome aboard. At this time, I'd like to open it up for public comment. If anyone from the public would like to speak, please raise your hand, come to the microphone when called, and state your name and address for the record. Sir.
How you doing? My name is Art Anderson, 12 Park Street, Tom's River, New Jersey. I have a question on the bills. It's Bill 19-05535. It's for $122,000, actually $122,500 for fitness equipment.
That's for going into one of our parks. We're putting in a fitness, like a fitness playground in one of our parks. I believe that's going into the girls' softball. Yeah, Veterans Park, that's where that's going in. It's a station that you would go around from station to station, okay. And that's where we're putting that.
And then I just want to piggyback something Mr. Latano said about downtown. I want to thank everyone that's involved for making that happen downtown. It's a great thing for the businesses and the residents, and I just hope that when this pandemic is over, that we continue it. Thank you.
We think that's a great idea also. Thank you. Anyone else have their hand up? Debbie?
Okay, my comments, Debbie Martin, Wortley Beach. My comments were going to be shorter, but I guess I have to make a couple of comments. Allison mentioned to me earlier that she saw someone that used to come to the meetings. I hate to tell you, a lot of people are talking about moving out of Toms River and out of Wortley because of the lack of concern of things, such as was just discussed earlier. I work for the county. I can't make comments on certain matters. That's why I haven't been coming to many of the meetings. But I think the guy was here 2 meetings ago that mentioned he didn't understand a lot of the stuff that was going on. I don't really understand what just happened, but I just know that one of the meetings, there were some Eagle Scouts here. I actually leaned over to the Eagle Scout and said to him, this is not the way this meeting should run. And I hate to say it, but I don't know why the thing was on the agenda. Mr. Latano mentioned, I guess, that it shouldn't have been on the agenda. It got too crazy. I mean, if anybody's listening to this meeting, they would think. But anyway, what I really got up to talk about was the power. First of all, Mr. Mayor Hill, I'd like to commend your secretary, Kit. She was wonderful. She should run for office. You mentioned in the email to me that you asked me about if certain sections of Wortley were out or everything was out. As far as I'm concerned, JCP&L should be telling you what's out. But along with it, I counted up, and just in the area that I know, 32 condos were out of power for at least 30 hours, including my next door neighbor who relies on a stair chair, on 2 levels. The boardwalk, I told you, half the lights were on, half were off. 2 houses back from me, they were on, the lights were on. I don't understand after Superstorm Sandy how the grid is so crazy in Ortley. Thank God the businesses were all, seemed like 35 was fine. I do not get how Ortley was wired after Sandy, because certain houses were on, some weren't. 32 condos, and if across the street from me had been built in between, that would have been 6 more. That's 38 condos of people who pay very good taxes, did not have power. For some reason, the North Beach lights along the boardwalk were on, which usually light up the area. They weren't on. I really would like somebody to talk to J.C. P&L and find out. We're not even in the thickest storm season yet. What's going to happen September, October?
Right, and Deb, I think that's what the concerns, and I know that's what the follow-up meeting will be, specifically targeting to see what the game plan is, if this one storm that came up the coast, if we get a couple.
We don't even have trees. Toms River, they blamed it on the trees.
Debbie, we've asked for a meeting for an after-action report with them, and also the concern we had when you were emailing me about power out, and I think I told you that our senior communities concern me because we have people on medical devices such as oxygen generators. You know, you've got defibrillators. They have a short lifetime of a backup battery. So we need to upgrade.
My concern with my neighbor.
Well, that's another one. We need to get those.
If my mother was alive, I have a stair chair in my house. My mother wouldn't have been able to use a stair
We
chair.
need to update the critical medical list with JCP&L and get points of contact. That was a concern. We were concerned when we started to get to 24 hours that we were going to have problems with our senior communities with their medical issues.
It's
So
just that the grid in Ortley was crazy.
Yeah.
Houses, 3 houses away, only lost for 20 minutes. How can you have 100 yards away, a house lose for 20 minutes, and 100 yards away for 30 hours or plus hours?
right after the storm, I can tell you that 6 out of every 7 residents in Toms River was without power. 42,000 out of 49,000 were without
I didn't
power.
understand, because supposedly we were all newly rewired. I don't know how they wired in after.
Well, we've asked for an after-action report from them. We're going to be meeting with them. Okay?
Thank you.
And Mayor Hill, will you be forwarding those findings over to the OBVTA? Because I know there was some concerns that came in from a few other members
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public have any questions? Council?
Seeing none, move to close public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to close the meeting and move into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances to discuss matters requiring confidentiality and/or of a privileged nature, and whereas the Township Council is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Toms River in the County of Ocean and State of New Jersey as follows. The Township Council will now conduct a private executive session. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed and/or acted upon is as follows: matters of personnel, attorney-client privilege, contract negotiations. The following specific items to be discussed and/or acted upon are as follows: the executive session minutes review of June 9th of 2020 and July 28th of 2020, the personnel issues of the Township Clerk's Office and administration, review of status of all real property acquisitions, and the possible vacation of Evans Avenue. It is anticipated that the deliberations conducted in closed session may be disclosed to the public upon the determination of the Township Council that the public interest to the public will no longer be served by such confidentiality. Motion made to go into executive session by Councilman Turnbach, second by Councilman Latano at 6:47 p.m.
That's what 2019. That's what That's what I'm talking about. And then, sometime later this week. Yeah, but I'm calling you. Well, then I haven't had to go one. So,
You know Danny Clinch, right? He had an impromptu jam session off his dock last night.
Yes.
One of my girlfriends is his neighbor, and they kayaked. I couldn't come over, I had to come in, but he had my husband said, he did. He was like, yeah.
Yeah, my friend, Why was the drive at Southside Johnny concert? It's just weird. It's not like watching a movie.
If you're free Friday night, come to.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about coming down. Yeah, I don't do that.
Actually, one of my friends who's opening at high school, Gary Morrison. So
Because I know Alex does our. He's been writing about that across the months.
I'm not even a big like it's the same, but I'm just more there for the support,
Oh, I know you're right. Well, another month, right into the real one. Oh, good for you.
From Tri-County, post office box in Tri-County.
Sure. I don't know if you want me to forward it to you by email or?
Do you want to email it?
Yeah.
Yeah, email it. Definitely.
Sure.
Because I got the letter, the text. I got that.
Oh,
That the mayor sent.
no, the resolution just said resolution appointing so-and-so to auction property. But doesn't specify the property. The problem here isn't really even that. I mean, that's only a piece. The real piece here is that you listed and said that all those resolutions say that they approve, they are encouraging us to vote for it, and that it was the sole bidder. It's not the sole bidder.
But it said it's a sole conforming bidder, so that's how you can get around it.
Where did you see the sole conforming?
Well, that's what he said.
No, hang on, I got it right here. Just in case you want to see it, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, send it to me because it's easier. You can show it to me now, so send it to me because I want to have it, I want to have it in front of me right now.
Anyway, I'll read it, I'll send it to you to read again, but it doesn't say sole conforming.
All right, well, send me everything that you for that,
Yeah, just to me,
All right, we'll just send it to me. And we'll chat.
right.
All right? All right.
Hey, everybody. Whew.
Dennis said he was disinterested.
Yeah. Well, he's got his opinion.
Yeah. Is it you? I'm speaking. Yeah, that's Mr. Moore. Oh, you're cool. Dennis, Dennis is cool. I think it's over. I mean, that's just sitting here listening. I think that's what it is. Yeah. Can't you hear? You should have. You can't do $510 an hour. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. And our amount we just had because they passed the 60. Yeah, I understand. After they applied for the they don't know what they're not so now it's not getting enough money. Well, they can't keep doing this indefinitely. Well, this is their because they want to give you the illegals money. And she got
Do I have a motion to go back into public session? Second? Second. Arm wrestle for it. All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion to approve the executive session minutes of June 9th, 2020? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do you prefer a roll call? We can do that. Executive session minutes of July 28th, 2020?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion to adjourn.
We should have a call on that one. All in favor, all opposed?
Okay. All in favor for July 28th?
Aye.
All opposed?
Could you hear that, Allison?
Yes. And now I just need a motion for, I guess, adjournment?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. 7:14 PM. Thank you very much.
During the campaign.
All right, see you tomorrow.